Imagine your government hands over the keys to the economy and someone else takes the steering wheel. That's when the giant on your doorstep becomes the villain. Today we're exploring why the International Monetary Fund, IMF, came to be seen as a villain in Latin America. We'll cover the historical context, what the IMF did, why many in the region reacted negatively, and how this reputation still matters. The goal: facts, not sensationalism. In the 1940s, Latin American countries joined the IMF with hope for stability and growth. But by the late 1970s and early 1980s, the region hit a debt crisis. External borrowing soared, interest rates spiked, and many Latin economies found themselves unable to service debt. At this time, the IMF stepped in with rescue loans. But these came with strings attached. When the IMF lent to Latin American countries, it typically imposed adjustment programs, things like budget cuts, reducing subsidies, opening markets, devaluing currencies. Critics argue that while the IMF's involvement may have helped stabilize finances, the social cost was high. Rising unemployment, cuts to public services, and slowed growth. For example, devaluation hurts import substituting industries. Wage cuts hit public workers. Subsidy removals raise costs for basics. Thus, many Latin Americans came to associate the IMF with austerity and hardship more than recovery. Several factors explain the negative perception. Loss of economic sovereignty. Governments were required to follow policy prescriptions to receive IMF funding, which many saw as external interference. Unequal outcomes. While stabilization may have occurred, the growth and living standard improvements did not always follow. Recurring debt cycles. Some countries borrowed again or remained vulnerable, reinforcing the idea of dependency. Symbolic target of protest. The IMF became a visible symbol of policies unpopular with many citizens, especially during fiscal cuts or social unrest. Together, these strengthened the idea of the IMF as villain rather than savior in public discourse. In recent years, the IMF has attempted to acknowledge its past criticisms and promote more inclusive programs. But many Latin American observers remain skeptical, asking whether change is deep or superficial. The legacy of past interventions continues to matter. In short, the IMF's role in Latin America is complex. Yes, it provided emergency lending, but the conditions, outcomes, and public impact left many feeling the villain had arrived. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like and subscribe for more on global economics.